say I was right. Admit that I, Jack Tanner, did foretell, did prophesy, long before you heard from that eyeless instrument.
Yes, Jack, you were absolutely right. But tell me sensibly, what you prophesied. See, I don't even know you. I just set my eagle down here on Ultima Thule and you jumped straight inside and started fiddling about with the randomizer.
Doom sits upon a pinnacle of rock, and no birds sing.
Yeah, again, that's not an episode title, is it? Look, I don't mind that you've made an episode selection, but it's absolutely no use to me if you don't tell me what you've selected.
It's an ill wind that carries the stink of fish.
Fish? What is it, a Stingray episode?
No!
Whoa, okay, never mind, calm down. How are we going to sort this out then?
You cannot hear for listening.
Okay, so if I promise to stop listening, will you tell me which episode it is we're watching today?
Oh yes, wonderful.
Right, okay, yep, there we go. I've stopped listening.
Dominion.
Oh.
You heard it well enough.
Yes. See, that wasn't so difficult, was it?
It comes and goes. It comes and goes.
Yes, and speaking of, it's been about 8 months since we last heard anything from new Captain Scarlet on the Randomiser, but here he is again with the series finale, kind of. Here's Dominion.
Glory, glory, hallelujah.
No, Jack, please. So one of the earliest randomizers was Grey Skulls, which was the final episode of Captain Scarlet produced and the final episode aired, but it was not intended to be the final episode because this, Dominion, was always intended to close out the series. Unfortunately, ITV being ITV made a complete horlicks of it. But we are here today to talk about what was meant to be the final episode of New Captain Scarlet, but didn't quite end up being that. And we're thrown straight into the heart of the action here with Captain Black at the controls of is it the Russian Druzhnik tank? I always found it kind of strange actually with New Captain Scarlet, having gone out of the way to not make the Russians baddies throughout the Super Mario Nation shows and being quite proud of it. Suddenly in New Captain Scarlet, the Mysterons were always taking over Russian tanks and Russian planes, and I'm sure that was just because they had the models prepared, and it made more sense to keep reusing the Druzhniks and the what were the Russian jets? The Vampires. It does, however, present kind of an odd situation where the Mysterons just keep pinching things from the Russians.
Symphony!
Not Symphony! Well, CGI Symphony is ejected safely. To be honest, we don't know anything about CGI Symphony, so...
But we just can't get anywhere near that thing.
There's only one thing that can take...
Wait, was that Harmony's voice?
That's another Druzhnik.
Oh. Anyway, Scarlet and Blue have also nicked a Russian tank, because I guess the Russians just leave their most valuable equipment just lying around for anyone to borrow.
Minutes and Black will be in range of the Tereshkova nuclear plant.
Okay, Destiny, we know we've got a schedule here.
Even Captain Blue's fed up of Destiny now. Yeah, this nuclear facility looks to be a slight reworking of the plant, the Scottish plant from Trap for a Rhino.
Fire!
So now, as we're at one of the very last episodes to be made, the CGI in this is looking so beautiful. There's none of that sort of awkward light floatiness and strange mouth problems that a lot of the earlier episodes have. This is just beautiful stuff. Only a few feet away from the nuclear plant, Scarlet and Blue unleash everything they've got. Blow up the tank, and stopping it just short of the gate. Oh, so close. Love it. Love a bit of just-in-time disaster
I call
avoidance.
taking it to the wire.
Oh, not the puns though, not the puns.
I'm getting a message from Tereshkova security, Colonel. They found a body thrown from the Druzhnik's wreckage.
Ooh.
Doctor?
Oh, poor old medical technician is looking very scared.
You're a prisoner of Spectrum. I suggest you cooperate.
That was one hell of a shot back in Siberia. It must have been. I'm free of the Mysterons.
Oh, well, that's promising. Do we believe it?
You mean he's telling the truth? He's no longer under Mysteron control.
I
Now, this is an idea that I don't think the original series ever played with.
No disrespect, Doc, but we can't trust these.
I think TV21, the comics, certainly did. I think more than once, possibly.
What do you think?
But it is such a tantalizing prospect. And of course, although we know that Black's never gonna come back to the side of the Angels, the fact that Scarlet did kind of at least raises the question.
I know what you're thinking, Destiny, but it really is me.
How do I know?
I wish I could tell you. I wish I could prove it to Scarlet, to Blue, to Colonel White.
And of course, we have actually seen it before in this series. He seemed slightly free of
Paul came back to us, but
free of Mysteron controlling Best of Enemies,
I know.
which, interestingly enough, I don't think gets mentioned in this episode. Oh, Destiny, please don't cry. It's very disturbing.
it is you.
No. No, you could never be sure. Maybe I don't even know. The only thing we're both certain of is Conrad Lefcon died on Mars. The Mysterons killed him.
Oh, poor Destiny can't handle all this fake crying.
Destiny?
Destiny's gonna go and post a
What's going on?
Twitter update and wait for everyone to say, "You okay, hon?"
I know how to destroy the Mysterons.
And as much as obviously the original Captain Black is
At the heart of the Mysterons.
an utterly chilling creation, just this ruthless zombie thing just gunning people down, and
It's my life against every soul on Earth.
you would love to consider the story potential of the idea that the real Black is still in there somewhere. But I also love what the CGI show did with him, making him so much more charismatic than before. He doesn't just kill people, he enjoys it.
And I will not risk your life no matter how charmed.
Which again makes this idea of the real Black still somehow being in there really tantalizing. So Scarlet has released Black from his cell quite easily.
I get the feeling this isn't exactly official.
And all of the bald technicians and guards.
I'll blow you into so many pieces it'll take the Mysterons from here to eternity to put you back together.
Oh,
SIG.
you know, the CGI facial expressions don't always look 100%, but Black did a really good sort of, oh god, I'm really sad face there.
Spectrum is red. I've got an escape alert. Security squads respond.
So Scarlet and Black have escaped from the cell, and Spectrum is sending more bald security guys to... Yeah, was this just a requirement of being a security guard in CGI Spectrum? You had to shave your head? I get from a production standpoint that it's easier to just leave them bald than have to worry about animating the hair, but it is odd.
They're headed for the hangar deck.
Alert Captain Blue.
What about anyone who works in the hangar deck? No, just Captain Blue. So Scarlet and Black have got their raid bikes.
Born to be wild, Scarlet. Born to be wild.
That's my favourite song from the 1960s, just in case you were wondering. Yeah, I hate the cheesy one-linerness in this show.
Lieutenant Green, report.
It's not too bad, but in moments like that, it's like, what are you even trying to say there, just because you're riding bikes? So we have to send 2 more bikes after them. Blue and Ochre! And they're having a race down the Skybase runway, that's awesome. And Ochre overtook Blue.
Scarlet and Black must be headed for the International Space Agency. I want them stopped.
I've got them on radar, Colonel.
This is a very odd... I think the raid bikes driving off Skybase with those silly little wings on were a very strange idea generally. But it is this lovely chase sequence now of Blue and Ochre trying to... Well, they are essentially using lethal force to stop Scarlet and Black.
What's happening?
It doesn't involve me. Unfortunately, Blue and Ochre...
We lost them.
Oh, and Oka's down. That's not fair.
Don't fire, Adam.
Yeah, that's going to work after you just gunned down Oka.
The Mysterons.
I wasn't talking to you.
I think as a series finale, she deserved better than that.
It could be the last chance humanity has.
I like to imagine while the boys are talking, she's crawling out of shot and she's like, right, well, I'm going to go off and have my own series finale with biker gangs and a fun fair. And you know what? I actually am going to go off and do that. And she did. And it was awesome.
It's Conrad, I'm sure of it, Colonel.
Oh, shut
And
up.
Paul knows it.
Nobody cares what you think.
What he thinks is right for all of us.
Colonel, I've got the International Space Agency coming through.
It is kind of a strange element of this as a final episode. For it to just focus on Scarlet and Black, it leaves... And this scene is a good example. White, Green, and Destiny are just kind of sitting around saying, well, you know, we're not really involved with this episode. Just let them do whatever they want. To the extent that Scarlet and Black have just managed to steal a shuttle from the Space Agency HQ quite easily. Colonel White says, what the hell, just let them do it. What's the worst that could happen? The Mysterons might get cross again. Oh, lovely shot of the Spectrum space shuttle with all those like satellite dishes and such. This is a machine that always looked nice. Martian stuff in this series always looks so beautiful.
I never liked this hellhole, even before the Mysterons.
You never liked any place you couldn't get a decent cup of coffee.
Ah, nice callback to the opening episode.
Come on. We've got work to do.
So Scarlet has clearly accepted that this is the real Black. It is surprising, I think, that they don't mention Best of Enemies.
How are we going to find it?
Trust me, I know where to look.
You're sure this will be enough to destroy their power source?
Don't worry. Just one of those going off in there will make a nuke look like a crackerjack.
You're making this all sound exceptionally easy. Almost as if it's some kind of trap. Oh, and the Mysterons, the rings are following them. They already know. And I remember this felt, even on first viewing, this felt like something out of TV21. I was almost half expecting to see rock snakes appear. But instead we just get this kind of mild rockfall thing that doesn't really amount to much, because they just drive straight through. Yep, there they go. Yeah, they just drive straight through, and it's like, okay. That didn't really accomplish much.
They know we're here. We'll never get into the city. We're finished.
I've come here to do a job, and I'm gonna do it.
Oh. You go do it then. Did they really think they would get into the Mysteron city undetected up to that point? They really think that... I mean, the city has to materialize first before they can even go inside it. Oh, that is a beautiful city, though. Very big, very beautiful. And I think they might have perhaps done a bit more work on it since the first episode.
Incredible it was.
Let us come into the city and talk, face to face.
So it is nice that the series gets, even though it got muddled in the broadcast, an actual proper ending.
We're inside the Mysteron city. Which
the original series never had, and they also never returned to Mars to face the Mysterons properly.
Where are they? All around us. Come on, this way.
And it's not that I don't think this is a good episode. I think it could have been better, though, if this were a longer episode. Just to give these characters a proper send-off, and to give this idea of the final showdown a bit more weight. Even if it had been a two-parter, that would have been fine. Because we're getting some beautiful CGI inside the Mysteron city, and it's so just abstract and weird. I mean, are those little spinning pairs of bubbles, are those Mysterons? We don't know. And here we have what looks to be a giant black hole in the centre of the city that may or may not be the Mysteron consciousness itself. but they're just sort of casually walking up to it, like they know they're 5 minutes away from the end of the episode. Oh, Black's turned traitor.
Of the Mysterons.
It was a trap, you Mysteron piece of scum!
Black believed he was free, but no one escapes our dominion. Not even you, Captain Scarlet.
Okay, so Black genuinely was good. They genuinely let him go just for a little while. Just to get Scarlet back, I guess. And I suppose it always kind of had to come back to the Black versus Scarlet showdown, since that was such a vital part of the series. But ultimately, again, it is just two guys having a punch-up.
You're finished, Scarlet. Just when I was getting attached to you.
So now Scarlet is going to get rid of Black by planting a mine on him. And then the Mysteron consciousness just grabs him and sucks him into the black hole. Okay, I'm not really sure why they grabbed him. If they had the tentacles ready to grab Black, why didn't they just grab Scarlet? He was in the same place. Now Scarlet's running out of the complex. The Mysterons are sending some rings after him, and this I really like, that he can't outpace the rings, and once they reach him, he's paralysed.
Scarlet.
And now the charge that he attached to Black suddenly explodes, and the whole... I guess that is meant to be a black hole at the centre of the room, and now everything's being sucked in. Yeah, so the Mysteron consciousness, if this is it, seems to be a sentient black hole. Okay, well, I'm on board with that, if that's what you're giving us. And again, going back to previous episodes that should be mentioned here but probably aren't, what about the Mysteron rebels? What happened with all that? You know, that was mentioned in 2 episodes, and now, you know, if they lived in this city, they've just died along with the rest of the nasty Mysterons. Oh, the city has gone up in a big cloud of green. And I don't know, for something so vast as the Mysteron city clearly was, just one explosive going off being enough to level the whole place. I don't buy it. I don't buy it. And of course, as it turns out, I'm right to not buy it.
Scarlet to Spectrum. I'm coming home.
Oh, and that's it. What would have been the last line of the series. So I'm just noticing they have a coffee cup mounted on a holder on the dashboard there. But Black is watching the shuttle leave. He's still clearly alive. And we can infer by the sight of the rings that the Mysterons themselves are still lying in wait for a Series 2 that sadly never came. So that was Dominion. Like I said, yeah, I don't think it's the best note to go out on, but I think they probably did the best they could with a little 22-minute runtime. I think, actually, the fact that Grey Skulls was shown after this was probably a good thing, because it's such a stronger episode to go out on. Sorry, Dominion, but for me, you're not the real Captain Scarlet finale.